with Aaron Rodgers under center. It's the New York Jets. They finished 5-12 last year. They do have the 26th ranked strength of schedule coming into this season, but like I said, this whole division is looking at easier schedules. And you mentioned being lined up with the NFC South
and having to play each other.
And having to play each other, exactly. And it's being a weak division already. Fun week 1 matchup against Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers. So that'll be a nice little reunion of a guy that was came and went in that organization as they look to move on with new head coach Aaron Glenn.
Well, for their quarterback, for the Jets quarterback too, that's a reunion for him because
that's funny. I just like flip flop basically
double reunion.
Well, let's start with Justin Fields because he will have probably the best wide receiver that he's ever had in his career in Garrett Wilson. I would put him above Pickens. I would put him above anything that Chicago gave to him in his years with the Bears. But he'll once again be under another defensive head coach. And while I like Aaron Glenn from the defensive coordinator from Detroit, Fields just hasn't gotten a break in this league. He's been under Eberflus, and I don't know who was before Eberflus in Chicago, but having Tomlin in Pittsburgh and now Aaron Glenn in New York, it's just been defensive head coach after defensive head coach, and he really just hasn't been able to develop as a quarterback in this league.
He had Nagy. Did it? The
Nagy coach? That's what it was.
He wasn't as an offensive guy, but I think he was. I don't know what happened. Really, he was bad towards. He started off good. He was bad towards the end of his.
That crashed and burned.
Yeah, but I mean, he's been put in bad situations. I agree, he hasn't been helped. But I mean,
okay, if he were to be put with the Kansas, if you flipped him and Mahomes,
yes,
would he have, exactly? That's what I'm saying.
He wouldn't be as good as
Mahomes,
homer, but he would be
right.
He'd be, yeah. I understand you're a homer. He's from Ohio State, but there are some like the fact that he's 0-22 against teams that score 21 or more points. That's just that's an alarming stat. He hasn't been given much help. But that's an alarming stat because the league average team score is 22.4. So if the team he played average every game, he would have a losing record based off his previous games. Now his weapons are better than usual on paper. Garrett Wilson, I think, is a very good receiver who's also kind of been actually his teams haven't been very good, but I think last year he played pretty well. Even once the Jets got Devontae Adams, I think he had his career highs in like receptions and touchdowns. So, yeah, I mean he's a star. They didn't play together, did they? I know they both went to Ohio State. Were they teammates?
I don't believe so. No.
Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah. I think Wilson would have been after. I think. I don't know. Ohio State's had so many good receivers and. Most of their quarterbacks play the same. It's hard to keep track of them all. But Breece Hall, another guy, good name on paper. I think he can complement Fields. I think that could be a scary backfield with Fields' dual threat abilities. But I don't know. But as a Jets fan, I know you've been in pain for the last 15 years since you haven't made the playoffs since 2010. But you might be immune to pain at this point. But do you really feel comfortable going into the season with Fields as your starter, with not much of a QB, with really no QB competition, like he's your certified starter?
Yeah. This is definitely a bridge year for the Jets. I don't see Fields as a long-term situation for them. They'll be definitely looking in the next at least couple drafts for more QB help, maybe even in free agency, looking for QB help. They do have Jermaine Johnson, one of their edge rushers, coming back off the IR from a torn Achilles in week 2 last season. He was a 2022 first rounder who really took a huge step forward in 23 with 7.5 sacks, 36 pressures, and 16 QB hits. And we know Aaron Glenn loves edge rushers. He had him in Detroit, even though Hutchinson went down, but he does really good things with edge rushers. So it's a rebuilding year. Lots to learn for the first-year head coach, but we'll see what happens here.
Their defense is still, I keep saying on paper because I go by names. Like if it's names you've heard of, like Sauce Gardner, right. Keenan Williams, both really good guys. I'll say they're stars. I think the jury's kind of still out on like Breece Hall after last year, and but yeah, they got some good defensive players, defensive coach. I think their defense is good enough to is maybe a playoff caliber defense, borderline. Statistically, they're still pretty good last year, but I do think they underperformed a little bit with what their expectations were. Their offense was just really inconsistent last year, and the whole Rodgers thing just didn't work, even though despite his good numbers. And they had some weird special teams issues too. Like I remember, they started off 2-1 last year, and then they played that game in Denver. Yeah, played that game against Denver at home, and they lost 10-9. And Zerline badly missed a field goal, and I think that loss just kind of derailed their whole season. Like things just went full south after that. So they ultimately fired Saleh,
which I think was a bad move. I don't think they should have fired Saleh.
It would have been interesting to see if they could have turned the ship around, because they're like 2-3. Yeah, they lost 2 in a row, 2-3. Not end of the world. You can recover from that. And then they fired him and hired Jeff Ulbrich was he the special teams coordinator or something like that?
I believe so, something like that.
Yeah. So it's good. And Saleh was a defensive guy, so they have a defensive guy back in the room, so it's good for their defense. But is it good for Fields? He is used to it by now, maybe. But it would have been nice to have had an offensive guy maybe once in his career. So yeah, they're in a tough spot, nowhere near Buffalo, but their talent on the defensive end and some of their skill players on the offensive end are good enough where they will pick off a couple good teams every now and then next year in the regular season. And looking at their schedule, the only note I had, since they don't have any big matchups really, is that and this is more just a complaint with the NFL, I hate it when teams play overseas and don't get a bye week the next week. I just think it's unfair. Jets, unfortunately, are in that scenario where they play Denver and London, and then they have to come back to the States with no bye week and play Carolina at home. So I just think that's unfortunate for them.
Yeah. And one last note on Fields: when we've seen these journeyman quarterbacks like Geno Smith, Baker Mayfield, and last season Sam Darnold all have career resurrections. Is it Fields' year? I don't think so. I do like the new energy in-house now with Aaron Glenn as the head coach. Like you said, getting it back to a defensive guy like they had in Saleh, like they had with Rex Ryan back in the day. That seems to kind of work for them, at least to just like nudge them into the playoffs. After that, I don't expect them to make any noise, but to me, it's just a rebuilding year. It might be one of the more quiet years in New York as far as the Jets. They won't have as many. They won't have the primetime games like they had with Rodgers. They won't have all that noise in house. It might just be a good year for them to just learn a lot about themselves and move on and be able to grow into the next season.
Unfortunately for Fields, when you compare him to guys like Darnold, Mayfield, and Smith, is that I think those guys went to decent organizations, at worst decent organizations. The Jets are not a decent organization. They're
it's the last one you want to go to.
Last one you want to go to. It helps they got a new coach who comes from a winning organization. Well, the funny Lions a winning organization, but it's come from a winning team these last couple of years and built up a underrated defense. And statistically, you look at the Lions defense, I think they were bad last year, but they were just absolutely hampered by injuries. But so that he does have that going for him as almost a new regime change. But yeah, this organization's been dysfunctional, have not made the playoffs in 15 years, and I don't think that drought ends anytime soon.
Yeah, those guys, each of those guys either went to a well-established organization or they had a good offensive coordinator or offensive head coach, which Fields is coming into neither. So, just going to be another down year for the Jets, but I would enjoy watching them probably more this year. They're going to have a younger QB than they had last year, so maybe they'll be able to do some more interesting things offensively, but maybe just be looking at specific guys for the future, just to see some good things out of for the future teams. But let's look at the last team, maybe the most intriguing team of this division, and that's the New England Patriots. So last year they finished last in division with a 4-13 record. They get the 30th ranked strength of schedule coming into this new season. What I'm most excited to see about this team is under new head coach Mike Vrabel and offensive coordinator Josh McDaniels, they're bringing the Belichick tree back together here in New England. Excited to see what Drake Maye can do coming off what was a pretty productive rookie season. He didn't have much to work with offensively, but I think with the way they've been able to load up a little bit offensively, especially with the line, it was a great pickup with Will Campbell. Getting Diggs in free agency, drafting Trevion Henderson from my Buckeyes, really bolster up the backfield and be able to take some, take some of the pressure off of Drake Maye under center. You might not see it this season, but definitely by 2026, I think this might be this season might just be a sneak peek of what's to come as a future playoff team. Plenty of free agent acquisitions, like I said, with Diggs. But they also got some good acquisitions on defense with a great secondary, Carlton Davis III, and they already had Christian Gonzalez there as well. So a very intriguing team. I know a lot of people are already picking them to be the new Houston Texans, the new Washington Commanders, what happened last season. I'm not going to go that far. I don't think they'll even make the playoffs, but I think an improvement, even doubling their win total from last season, could definitely be in the cards for them.
Yeah, they also got Milton Williams, big defensive tackle from Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. They paid him a lot of money. Harold Landry they got from the Titans, Robert Spillane from the Raiders. So yeah,
they made really a lot of noise.
They made a lot of noise, especially on the defensive end. They were not afraid to spend money. Yeah, and like you said, pairing Davis with Christian Gonzalez, who hopefully stays healthy. That's a big if, because when he does play, he's shown he can be a really good lockdown corner. But unfortunately, he hasn't played very much due to injuries. So hopefully he can stay healthy. But we didn't even mention Vrabel. I think Vrabel was a fantastic hire. A lot of people think Gerard Mayo got the wrong end of the deal when he got laid off. I mean, this team, yeah, he didn't have much to work with. And it does kind of suck because I think they kind of wanted to hire Vrabel all along, and they finally got him this year. They had to kick Gerard Mayo out. But yeah, they were not good last year. Like I said earlier, they had 7 double-digit losses, finished 4-13. And this is just a grievance I have sometimes. So it always goes, this is about last year with the Patriots. They always talk about how great it was for Mahomes to sit back and watch in his rookie year. Alex Smith, then he took over. Mahomes is just Mahomes. What is Drake Maye going to learn by watching Jacoby Brissett run that offense? I'm going to learn to be a better quarterback I'm learning really good things watching this putrid offense. No disrespect to Jacoby Brissett, but I mean, he's older. He's not going to run the offense like Drake Maye will. I think they wasted a few games of his. To me, most cases, you throw your rookie quarterback out there. He's a rookie. He's going to make mistakes. Your team might not be very good, but he's got to learn. Because not every quarterback's Mahomes is just gifted. I mean, you got to learn. You got to develop. So that was just my big grievance last year. I wish we could have seen Drake Maye earlier. But yeah, the question is he going to be good? He showed signs last year. Had a horrible pieces to work with. Ramondre Stevenson's a good running back. I think that Henderson and Stevenson duo could be pretty effective, especially with a young quarterback. But yeah, we got to learn if Drake Maye can be good for this team. I don't know. I was initially somewhat excited about the Diggs acquisition. He's kind of dealing with some off the field issues right now, so I don't really know if he's going to be a good locker room help. Jury's still out there. We do have a couple months till season starts, so maybe he'll get his act together. But yeah, because outside of Diggs, I mean, it's not very good weapons. Arguably, Hunter Henry's your best pass catcher, who's an okay tight end. So I think, yeah, Trevion Henderson and Stevenson might need to be ready to carry the workload. But I mean, Vrabel teams, look at Derrick Henry. Look at the Derrick Henry years, loves to run. I mean, you made it to the AFC Championship with Tannehill and became the number 1 overall seed in the AFC with Ryan Tannehill as your quarterback. Because Vrabel teams love to run, love to be physical. So, yeah, to me, I think this is clearly the second best team in the division. This is assuming Drake Maye's not terrible, which I don't think he will be, assuming he elevates his game at least a little bit from his rookie year, bare minimum. I think that puts him as the second best team in the division with the acquisition, but mostly because of the head coaching position that was filled in the offseason with Mike Vrabel, because I think that guy just brings toughness and winning with him wherever he goes.
Yeah, I think bringing that kind of that regime, that Belichick core there, might just be what New England needs to get back to the glory years.
With a guy who has experience, because Mayo was from that, but he had no experience.
Right. So yeah, let's if you don't have any more notes on the Patriots, I'd say we get into these over/under win totals.
The only thing I have of their schedule is that they're so even during the Brady years, they own the division, but you always know that at Miami was always a difficult game for them. Something about the weather change. We talked about Miami's playing in the weather earlier, how they can sometimes be better than their opponents or much worse than their opponents, depending on the weather. Well, unfortunately for the Patriots, they get that at Miami game week 2, so that's early in the year. It's not really good for the history. Looking at the history, they have not won at Miami since 2019. And even, that was Brady's last year, but even before that, Brady's record in Miami wasn't anything Brady-esque compared to how we own the rest of the division. So that might be a guaranteed loss. Just for anyone interested in that, but that doesn't take away anything else from the Patriots roster. I just think every team, usually a lot of teams have that guaranteed loss every year, and that to me, that's where the Patriots is.